The warning appeared in 17 different languages, carved into the stone archway of a dead civilization 3,000 light-years from Sol. Do not disturb the sleepers of the third planet. Captain Vex of the Galactic Survey Fleet stared at the inscription. Her secondary arms crossed skeptically while her primary hands adjusted the translation device. Behind her, Science Officer Kale made a nervous clicking sound with his mandibles. That is the fourth warning we have discovered in 6 months, Kale said, his voice trembling slightly, all referring to the same world, Earth. Vex muttered, tapping her clawed finger against the ancient stone. A planet we cannot even locate in our star charts. Probably just mythology. Fear-mongering from extinct species who had nothing better to do than scare their children. Captain, with respect, these civilizations span different epochs. The Urathi collective died out 2 million years ago. The beings who built this temple vanished only 50,000 years back. They could not have communicated with each other, yet they all mentioned the same planet, the same warning. Vex turned to face her science officer, her 4 eyes narrowing in what passed for amusement among her species. You are telling me that multiple advanced civilizations separated by millions of years and thousands of light years, all independently decided to warn future species about one random planet? That is either the galaxy's greatest coincidence or the galaxy's most elaborate prank. What if it is neither? Kale's voice dropped lower. What if they all encountered something that terrified them so thoroughly that they felt compelled to leave warnings? Then they should have been more specific, Vex said, walking away from the archway. Never wake them. Wake who? Wake what? Are we talking about a hibernating species? A dormant plague? An angry deity with a snooze button? Cal scurried after her, his 6 legs clicking against the temple floor. The linguistic analysis suggests the warnings are not metaphorical. They reference actual beings in a state of rest or suspended animation. Fascinating. Vex's tone suggested she found it anything but. I will file this with the other mysteries we cannot solve because we have actual work to do. The Council wants us to survey the Kelmar Nebula, not chase ghost stories about sleeping monsters. But Kale was persistent. Over the following weeks, as their ship traveled through the void, he compiled every reference to Earth he could find in the survey fleet's extensive database. The results were, even Vex had to admit, unusual. The planet appeared in myths, legends, warnings, and cautionary tales across dozens of species. Some called it the origin world, others called it the forbidden sphere. A few simply called it hell with a water cycle. The descriptions varied wildly, everything from a paradise of impossible biodiversity to a nightmare realm where death itself had evolved predatory instincts. Listen to this one, Kale said during their weekly briefing, reading from his datapad. It comes from the merchant guilds of Prax, dated approximately 130,000 years ago. They describe trading with, and I quote, creatures who laugh while bleeding, who consider poison a recreational seasoning, and who keep apex predators as emotional support animals. Vex snorted, a sound like steam escaping through vents. That sounds like exaggeration. No species could be that reckless and survive. There is more. The Prax merchants claim they stopped trading with Earth after one of the humans, that is what they called themselves, ate something called a Carolina Reaper on a dare and did not die. The merchant who witnessed this apparently retired immediately and spent the rest of his life in a meditation cube trying to process what he had seen. A fruit made someone retire? Vex asked incredulously. Not just any fruit, Captain. According to the report, it was a self-defense mechanism evolved by a plant. The human consumed it for fun, for entertainment. The merchant's final log entry reads, never returned to the world, where evolution lost its mind and the inhabitants celebrated the chaos. Vex was quiet for a moment. That is disturbing, but also completely unverified. We have no coordinates for this Earth. We have no proof it even exists. Just stories. I found coordinates, Kale said quietly. Vex's head swiveled so fast her neck vertebrae cracked. Excuse me? In the deepest archives of the Urathi data vaults, they kept records of everything, including things they wished they could forget. The coordinates are marked with a symbol that translates roughly to eternal quarantine. And you want us to go there? I want us to verify the truth, Kale corrected. Science demands investigation, not avoidance. If this planet is truly dangerous, we should know why. If it is just myth, we should prove. Vex considered this. She was a career officer, pragmatic and skeptical. But she was also, though she rarely admitted it, curious, and the idea of solving a mystery that had persisted across millions of years was tempting. Fine, she said finally. We will make a brief detour, scan the planet from a safe distance, verify if anything lives there, and leave. No landing, no contact, Just observation. Kale's mandibles clicked with excitement. Thank you, Captain. I will prepare the navigation immediately. 3 weeks later, their ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of an unremarkable yellow star system. The third planet from the sun was a blue and green marble, wrapped in swirling white clouds. Preliminary scans show a oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, Kale reported, his voice filled with wonder. Liquid water oceans covering approximately 70% of the surface. Massive biodiversity. And Captain, I am detecting artificial structures. Lots of them. Cities, roads, satellites in orbit. This planet is inhabited. Vex leaned forward in her command chair, studying the holographic display. Life signs, over 7 billion individual organisms matching the expected profile for intelligent species. They are everywhere, Captain. And... Coyle paused, his antennae quivering. They appear to be awake. What do you mean awake? The warnings always said never wake them. But Captain, I do not think they are sleeping. Their cities are lit up. Their satellites are transmitting. Their orbital traffic is. Good grief, that is a lot of debris. Do they just leave their junk floating in space? Vex was about to respond when their communications array lit up. Someone or something was hailing them. Should I answer? Kale asked nervously. We came all this way. We might as well introduce ourselves. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a bipedal creature with only 2 eyes, 2 arms, and a disturbing lack of protective chidon. It was wearing some kind of uniform and smiling, which displayed an alarming number of teeth. Hello there, the creature said, in a pleasant tone that somehow made Vex's skin crawl. This is Orbital Defense Platform 7. You have entered Earth's monitored space. Please state your intentions, origin, and whether you prefer your first contact to be formal and diplomatic or casual and friendly. Because honestly, we have been waiting for this moment for centuries and we are pretty flexible on protocol. Vex and Kale exchanged glances. This is Captain Vex of the Galactic Survey Fleet, Vex said carefully. We are on a peaceful research mission. We came to verify certain historical records regarding your planet. The human's smile widened. Oh, you mean the warnings? Yeah, we know about those. Kind of flattering, actually. We have been collecting them. There is a museum on the moon dedicated to all the do not go to Earth stuff. Very popular tourist attraction. You know, about the warnings. Hard to miss them. When you start exploring the galaxy and every ancient ruin you find has some variation of beware the humans carved into it. We found one that just said nope, with an arrow pointing at our solar system. That one is our favorite. Kale made a strangled sound. You are not concerned that multiple civilizations feared you enough to leave warnings? The human shrugged. A gesture neither Vex nor Kale understood but somehow conveyed complete indifference. I mean, we get it. We are kind of intense. Our planet is what biologists call a death world. Everything here is either poisonous, venomous, predatory, or politically complicated. We have spiders that can kill you in minutes, plants that can kill you in hours, and weather patterns that can kill you in seconds. We invented extreme sports because regular survival was not exciting enough. That is insane. Vex breathed. That is home. The human corrected cheerfully. Look, you came all this way. Want to come down for a visit? We promise not to let anything eat you. Probably. Absolutely not, Vex said immediately. We will observe from orbit and then depart. Your loss. We have coffee. What is coffee? The human's eyes lit up with an expression that Vex would later describe as concerning enthusiasm. Oh, you poor, innocent soul. Coffee is a beverage made from roasted seeds that we consume to simulate alertness. It is mildly toxic, definitely addictive, and completely essential to modern civilization. We drink it every morning. You poison yourselves every morning, Kale said flatly. Technically, yes, but in a fun way. Vex was beginning to understand why the ancient warnings existed. We appreciate the offer, she said diplomatically, but we really should be going. Sure. But hey, before you leave, can I ask what you have heard about us? Like, what did the warnings actually say? Vex hesitated, then decided honesty might be the quickest way to end this conversation. They said never wake you, that you were sleeping, hibernating, dormant somehow. But you are clearly not. The human's expression changed. The smile remained, but something else appeared in those strange forward-facing predator eyes. Something that made every survival instinct Vex possessed start screaming. Oh, the human said softly. That is the thing. We were sleeping. For about 200,000 years we were just another species barely scraping by, trying not to go extinct. Then we woke up, started making tools, building cities, splitting atoms, leaving our planet. The warnings are not about keeping us asleep. The human leaned closer to the camera. They are about what happens when we wake up. Vix felt her blood run cold, despite her 3 hearts. We should go, she said to Kale. Excellent idea, Captain. As their ship began powering up the faster-than-light drive, the human waved cheerfully. Safe travels. Come back anytime. We will save you some coffee. The view screen went dark. 30 seconds later, they were jumping away from Earth at maximum speed. Neither Vex nor Kale spoke for several minutes. Finally, Kale broke the silence. Captain, I believe I understand now why the warnings exist. As do I, Vex replied quietly. They were not trying to protect humanity. They were trying to protect everyone else. Should we report this to the Council? Vex thought about it. She thought about the human smile, about a species that poisoned itself for fun, that kept predators as pets, that looked at a hostile universe and decided to make it more hostile just to keep things interesting. Yes, she said finally. But I am also recommending that Earth be designated as a restricted zone. Full quarantine. No contact. The Council will ask why. Tell them the truth. Tell them the humans are awake, and we are not equipped to handle what that means. The Council of United Species did not believe them. You expect us to quarantine an entire planet because one of them drank poison and smiled? Councillor Thren, a floating gaseous entity from the nebula reaches, pulsed with what might have been amusement. Captain Vex, your report reads like a fever dream. Vex stood before the semicircular assembly of alien dignitaries, her uniform crisp despite the 3-week journey back to Council space. Beside her, Kale shuffled nervously, his mandibles clicking in distress. With respect, Counselor, the warnings we discovered were consistent across multiple extinct civilizations. The humans themselves confirmed they are aware of these warnings and find them amusing. That alone should concern us. Amusing. Counselor Brath, a massive crustacean-like being from the water world of Kel, clicked his claws together skeptically. They find warnings about themselves amusing. Perhaps they have a sense of humor. That hardly constitutes a threat. They call their planet a death world, Kale interjected, his voice cracking slightly. They evolved Aolong's creatures specifically designed by nature to kill them, and they domesticated some of those creatures. They keep them in their homes. With their offspring, many species keep animals, Thren said dismissively. They keep wolves, Cal continued desperately. Apex predators with bite forces that can crush bone. They bred them into smaller versions and dress them in tiny clothes. They have competitions where these animals perform tricks. For entertainment. The council chamber fell silent. They did what now? Brath asked slowly. And cats, Vex added, sensing an opening. Obligate carnivores with retractable claws and enhanced night vision, predators that humans allow to roam freely in their living spaces. The cats occasionally bring them dead animals as gifts, and the humans consider this affectionate behavior. Counselor Seth, a crystalline being who rarely spoke, finally chimed in with a voice like grinding minerals. This is their idea of companionship, cohabitation with things that hunt them. The cats do not hunt them, Kale explained. Well, sometimes they do, but only playfully. The humans think it is adorable when a cat attacks their feet while they sleep. Adorable, Seth repeated, the word distorted through their mineral vocal cords. They find attempted murder adorable. That is not even the concerning part, Vex said, pulling up a holographic display. During our brief communication, the human mentioned coffee, a toxic stimulant they consume daily to function. When I researched their global information network, I discovered they consume numerous substances specifically because they are dangerous. Alcohol, a literal poison that impairs judgment. Capsaicin, a chemical weapon developed by plants. Processed sugars that damage their organs over time. They know these things harm them. They do not care. Perhaps they lack proper education? Thren suggested weakly. They have extensive educational systems dedicated to teaching about these dangers. Kal said. They teach their children that these substances are harmful. And then, when those children become adults, they consume them anyway. Sometimes in competitions to see who can consume the most. They call it having a good time. Brath's eye stalks drooped. This cannot be real. It gets worse. Vex continued. They engage in recreational activities specifically designed to risk death. Jumping from aircraft with fabric parachutes, climbing vertical rock faces without safety equipment, surfing on frozen water down mountains at high velocity, swimming in water alongside predatory fish with multiple rows of teeth. They have an entire category of activities called extreme sports, and the more dangerous the activity, the more popular it becomes. Why? Seth asked, genuinely confused. What evolutionary advantage does this provide? None. Vex said flatly. They do it because they are bored. Because survival became too easy, so they invented new ways to almost die. For fun, the council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs and concerned chirps. Councillor Thren pulsed rapidly, a sign of deep distress among their kind. "Let me understand this correctly," Thren said once the noise died down. "This species evolved on a hostile planet, survived against overwhelming odds, developed intelligence and civilization, and then decided that existence was not challenging enough, so they actively seek danger for entertainment?" "Yes," Vex and Kale said simultaneously. "And they are spacefaring now," Brath added quietly. "They have left their planet, they are coming." That single sentence seemed to drain all energy from the chamber. The implications hung in the air like a dark cloud. "How advanced is their technology?" Seth asked. Rakes pulled up more data. "Approximately 300 years behind our own in most fields. But they are advancing at an unprecedented rate. They went from basic flight to landing on their moon in 66 years. From splitting the atom to harnessing fusion in less than a century. Their technological growth is exponential. So we have time," Thren said, sounding relieved. "Do we?" Vex challenged. "I access their public entertainment media. They create fictional stories about their own future. Do you know what most of these stories feature? Humans conquering the galaxy. Humans fighting aliens and winning. Humans befriending aliens and dragging them into dangerous situations. Humans solving every problem through a combination of violence, stubbornness, and what they call thinking outside the box. They fantasize about leaving their planet and making the entire galaxy their playground." "Surely that is just fiction," Brath protested. "Their fiction becomes reality," Kale said urgently. "They imagined traveling to the moon. They did it. They imagined global communication networks. They built them. They imagined artificial intelligence. They created it. Then, because they were worried it might become too powerful, they started working on ways to control it. They anticipate their own technological dangers and prepare countermeasures. They think ahead specifically about how their inventions might try to kill them. Because everything in their experience tries to kill them," Seth said, understanding dawning. "They assume hostility because that is their baseline reality." "Exactly," Vex confirmed. "And when they encountered us, they were friendly. Cheerful, even. Do you know what that means? It means they were not afraid. A species that evolved in constant danger, that treats poison as recreation and predators as pets, met us and felt no fear whatsoever. What does that say about how they perceive themselves compared to us?" The silence was deafening. "We need to establish protocols," Thren finally said. "Diplomatic channels, communication guidelines. We need to understand them before they spread too far. I volunteer to be the first ambassador." A new voice spoke up. Everyone turned. Ambassador Rix, a tall, elegant being from the diplomatic caste of Vel, stepped forward. He was young, ambitious, and famously fearless. "Absolutely not," Vex said immediately. "Why not?" "Someone must make contact. I have studied their languages, their customs. I can establish a dialogue." "You will die," Kale said bluntly. "They seemed friendly in your report." "That is what makes them dangerous," Vex insisted. "They are friendly. They will welcome you, offer you food, treat you as an honored guest, and then they will accidentally kill you by exposing you to something they consider harmless but is lethal to your biology. Or they will invite you to participate in a cultural activity that involves risk of death. Or they will introduce you to their pets, who will view you as prey. They will not mean to harm you. That somehow makes it worse." Rakes straightened, his pride evident. "I am trained for difficult assignments. I can handle one Death World species." "No," Vex said firmly. "You cannot. Because the problem is not that they are dangerous. The problem is that they do not think they are dangerous. They have spent their entire existence surrounded by things that want to kill them, and they have normalized it. They see no issue with offering you coffee, poisonous stimulants, and recreational skull trauma. To them, these are acts of hospitality." "Then what do you suggest?" Brath asked. "We cannot ignore them. We cannot fight them. They would probably enjoy that. We cannot quarantine them forever. I suggest," Vex said slowly, "that we prepare. We document everything. We establish strict safety properties. We create specialized training programs for anyone who might encounter humans. We accept that the galaxy is about to change and we do our best to adapt." "That sounds like surrender," Rick said. "No," Seth corrected. "Their crystal structure reflecting light in sharp angles. That sounds like wisdom. The ancient civilizations left warnings. We should honor those warnings not by avoiding humans but by respecting what those warnings represent. They represent the experience of species who learned, probably the hard way, what humans are capable of." "And what are they capable of?" Thren asked. Vex thought about the human on the screen, smiling with too many teeth, offering poison as a gesture of welcome, treating the warnings of extinct civilizations as entertainment. Anything, she said quietly. They are capable of anything. Because nothing stops them. Not physics, not biology, not common sense. They look at an impossible problem and they solve it. They look at certain death and they laugh. They look at the universe and they see potential. That is terrifying, Brath whispered. That is humanity, Vex agreed. The council voted on limited contact protocols and observation outposts. They created databases of human behavior. They established emergency response teams for human-related incidents, which seemed absurd until someone pointed out that humans would definitely create incidents. 3 months later, Vex received a message. The humans had established their first colony on Mars. They were throwing a party, and they wanted to invite representatives from the Galactic survey fleet. There would be food, drinks, and something called karaoke. Vex deleted the message. 2 months after that, humans made first official contact with the Prax merchant guilds. The trading went well until a human offered a Prax merchant something called ghost pepper wings. The merchant survived, but reportedly spent 6 hours convinced their mouth was undergoing nuclear fission. 6 months later, humans discovered faster than light travel. Not through careful research or studying existing technology, but by, according to their own reports, trying something stupid to see what would happen. It worked. 1 year after Vex's initial report, Earth had established 30 colonies, opened trade with 16 species, and accidentally started 4 diplomatic incidents that were resolved through apology gifts that included varieties of chocolate nobody had realized were toxic to non-humans, and floral arrangements containing plants classified as weapons in most systems. And everywhere they went, humans brought their pets, their coffee, their incomprehensible enthusiasm for danger, and their absolute refusal to acknowledge that anything was impossible. The galaxy was changing. The sleepers had awakened, and as Vex watched reports flooding in from across known space, she realized something that made her want to laugh and scream simultaneously. The warnings were right. They should never have been awakened. But it was too late now. Humanity was awake, and the universe would never be the same.